an SUV going the other, and someone loses control. Horror and tragedy on the roadway. His lawyers say let him die on his own terms.
He deserves that. He deserves to die in prison.
But prosecutors want to speed it up.
Signed their name to a piece of paper that said, Quentin Smith, I sentence you to death.
Next, a cop killer's fate goes to the jury. And coming up at 6, a party turns deadly.
Folks that don't follow the rules.
Now Airbnb wants to crash.
So much commotion going past the bedroom window.
Trying to keep rentals.
Litter, trash.
From turning into a ruckus. Too early for Christmas shopping?
I like to get it out of the way.
You might already be late.
That's crazy.
How stores are scrambling.
So they are all clamoring to get business.
To give you some cash.
ABC 6 News at 5 starts with this breaking news alert.
Developing tonight, the jury has reached a decision in the sentencing phase of the Quentin Smith trial. The same jury that convicted him of killing Westerville police officers Eric Juring and Anthony Morelli just a few days ago.
Luann Stoya is in the courtroom right now awaiting their recommendation. Here's what happened during closing arguments today.
This was the scene where 2 Westerville police officers were killed in the line of duty by Quentin Smith. Today, prosecutors reminding the jury they're tasked with determining Smith's fate: death, life in prison, or life in prison with parole after 25 or 30 years.
He knew the cops were on the way. That was his choice. His choice to shoot at officers with his 15-month-old daughter 10 feet away.
Defense lawyers saying Smith had a broken brain, mental health issues, and anger management problems, and that Smith had a terrible upbringing by a mother who verbally abused him.
I submit every time she said, "You should die," that's a punch. Every time she said, "I wish I'd close my legs when you were being born so you wouldn't exist," punch.
Prosecutors told the jury Smith's mental health may have put him at risk, but it didn't force him to commit aggravated murder.
He had people in his life. He had family. He wasn't raised by wolves.
The funeral of the officers is a stark reminder of how loved ones and a community is impacted. Now the future of their murderer is in the balance.
Mr. Lowe has just asked you to kill Quentin Smith. I am asking you not to kill him. It is as simple as that.
Prosecutors say Smith's history nor character are mitigating factors in the case.
Wasn't in a psychotic state when he made that decision to grab that gun and kill those cops that were there to help him.
Again, we are expecting a decision to be read in the next half hour. We will bring that to you live as it happens right here on ABC 6.
And right now, 104 and Jackson Pike, next to 71 in South Columbus, closed 4 hours after a deadly wreck. It killed a woman.
A dump truck ended up on top of her SUV. Terry Sullivan on the scene for us right now. Terry, what can you tell us?
Well, Stacia, this is just a horrible reminder of how everything can change in a split second. Take a look. The scene is still active behind me 3.5 hours after that crash. Environmental crew right now working to clean up what may be a bit of a diesel spill. Police are still here. The fire crews were here at one point. We even saw the highway patrol looking over the dump truck. Now, we're told this accident happened around 1:25 this afternoon. A woman in a Honda Element was northbound. The dump truck, full of dirt, was headed southbound on Jackson Pike when police say the preliminary info is that the woman went left of center. They both swerved and then collided. The front of the dump truck crushing the driver's side front of the car. Now, one witness who was a few cars back told me that he and others ran to try to help the woman, but by then it was just too late. There was nothing they could do. Back out live, the woman's name has not been released, and Jackson Pike, as you mentioned, 104, is now closed between Frank Road to the north and Dyer to the south. But from the looks of things, they've got everything pretty much cleaned up, and it looks like the road could reopen in the next half hour. Live in the South Side, Terry Sullivan, ABC 6 News.
Thank you, Terry. We'll keep you updated on that reopening. And an alarming discovery inside a North Columbus elementary school to report tonight. This loaded semi-automatic handgun inside a backpack. Kaylee Gunderson in the newsroom right now with some new details from police. And Kaylee, how did the police find out about the gun in the school today?
Well, Bob, police say the handgun was reported stolen by a grandfather yesterday, and they tell me that the school secured the gun quickly, but this could have easily turned into a very different story. More Than Books made it into Kids Care Elementary School today. Police say a student found a loaded handgun in his 6-year-old friend's backpack.
And that student did exactly what we asked students to do: see something, say something.
School administrators acted quickly to secure the gun, call police, and place the school on lockdown. Kids Care Elementary School releasing a statement saying, in part, "We are proud of the school's quick response to protect all staff and students from any potential harm and thankful to the police for their assistance." Detective David Busey says the child's grandfather reported the gun stolen from inside the home yesterday.
Obvious that this could have been the worst day that school could have ever experienced. Certainly, if you're a firearm owner, we expect that the firearm is secured within your house or within your person at all times. And keeping firearms away from juveniles is a must, not a request.
Both the grandparents and student were questioned, but no charges have been filed. Busey says determining a motive is difficult when dealing with a child so young.
Unfortunately, with a child of 6 years of age in the first grade, criminal intent is hard to articulate. In this case, it follows that exact same pattern. We really don't know why the kid brought the gun to school other than show and tell or bragging or showing off.
As for the child's guardians, Detective Busey says if probable cause is found, charges will be forwarded to the prosecutor's office, and he said a children's services referral will be made. In the newsroom, Kaylee Gunderson, ABC 6 News.
Thank you, Kaylee. And now, mission accomplished for a grieving mother who fought to make amusement rides safer in Ohio. Her son died more than 2 years ago at the Ohio State Fair.
Governor DeWine signed Tyler's Law today. 6 on your side's Tara Morgan brings us the end of this journey. Tara, Tyler's mom was there today.
Right, yeah. Amber Duffield stood right next to Governor DeWine. This is just one step for Tyler's family to ensure ride safety, and not just here in Ohio. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, the signing of Tyler's Law just hours ago. Governor DeWine signed House Bill 189, known as Tyler's Law, in a ceremony at the State House this afternoon. Tyler Gerald's mother gave DeWine a dragonfly pin with the inscription, "There is always hope." Gerald died in 2017 when the Fireball ride broke apart on opening night of the Ohio State Fair. His mother has worked tirelessly with lawmakers to get new inspection requirements on the books, and we captured an emotional moment for Amber right after the bill signing.
They really just stumped me by giving me the gift of the gavel that they used the day that they passed Tyler's. That it passed. And so that was, throughout all of this, that was one of the goals that I had set for myself, was holding out until I heard that and then seeing the governor again. And to be handed that today and then meeting with the governor, I really don't have any real words for that. Just tears of joy.
The Ohio Department of Agriculture oversees amusement ride safety. The director says they've been implementing new requirements since April. Ride operators must show documentation of any changes since inspection, any letter from manufacturers, and whether anyone else has inspected the ride. A professional engineer will also now be a part of the ride advisory board. Now, there is a lawsuit pending in New Jersey against the Fireball manufacturer. It alleges the Fireball was defective when it left the maker's hands more than 20 years ago, and will continue to follow that case. Duffield says right now they want to come together with family and grieve differently than they have since the tragedy. Tara Morgan, 6 on your side, investigates.
All right, appreciate the update, Tara. Thank you. And we'll take you live to D.C. now, where House Democrats plan to hold the first public hearings in the impeachment inquiry starting next Wednesday. 3 members of the State Department will testify late next week. They include a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, a top U.S. diplomat to the Ukraine, and a career State Department employee. All 3 have already testified behind closed doors.
We are getting ready for a bit of a wintry mess. It's not here yet, but it is coming our way, and it's going to be important for us to remember how to drive in all of this. You see some rain that's off to our south. That is sliding up into south central Ohio, and we're dry in Columbus. This batch of snow up here near Chicago is the next batch of cold air. So those are all going to get combined tomorrow and get into central Ohio and give us a wintry mess. Now, what we have right now is dry conditions. It's actually a very pleasant evening out there. It's cool, but not bad. Here's how it looks on Futurecast for the evening. You see that rain moving in by late this evening and continuing during the overnight hours. So it's going to be wet overnight tonight, and your morning commute starts out with plenty of rain tomorrow. Beginning in the morning, it's rain. During the day is when it'll change over into snow. Here's your evening for now. 44 degrees for a lot of the evening. So we're mild, and that rain moves in by bedtime tonight. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to track the snow for you, let you know when we expect it to make the transition and how much we're going to get.
Thank you, Marshall. There's a new Starbucks in New York City, and there's no line to get your drinks. What else is so special about this new coffee concept?
The media is constantly under attack, but there's a new campaign to fight back. I'm Scott Thuman with that ad and the growing legal challenges.
And it's Wednesday, which means it's time to ask the attorney. And look at all these members of the Columbus Bar Association on your side right now, answering legal questions for free. Just dial the number on your screen, 614-481-6848, and they'll be here until 6:30. Downtown Columbus, just moments ago, the jury returned to the courtroom with a decision in the sentencing phase of the Quentin Smith trial.
That same jury convicted him of killing Westerville officers Eric Juring and Anthony Morelli. Let's listen in to their recommendation.
All right.
Thank you, folks. Please be seated and be comfortable. Who is the foreperson? Have you reached a verdict unanimously or at least on part of the case, if not the whole case?
Yes.
All right. Do you want to read them or do you want me to read them?
We, the jury, being deadlocked and unable to agree on whether the aggravating circumstances outweigh the mitigating factors beyond a reasonable doubt, hereby unanimously return the following life sentence on count 1, life imprisonment without parole. We, the jury, being deadlocked and unable to agree on whether the aggravating circumstances outweigh the mitigating factors beyond a reasonable doubt, hereby unanimously return the following life sentence on count 2, life imprisonment without parole.
The counsel on either side want to see the verdict forms. They appear to be signed by all 12 jurors and be in proper form, but if you want to come up before we discharge the jury, why, feel free.
No, Your Honor. No.
All right. As we did after the first verdict, members of the jury, I'm going to poll you just for the record, but because this is being live streamed, I'm going to use the numbers, starting with the gentleman in the upper left-hand corner as juror number 1, and just go down the top row and then cover the 3 of you in the lower row. Juror number 1, do these verdicts reflect your independent evaluation and judgment on both counts?
Yes, I do.
Juror number 2, do these verdicts reflect your individual judgment and conclusion on both counts? Yes. Juror number 3, do these
You just heard live as the jury in the Quentin Smith aggravated murder trial has just recommended life in prison for Quentin Smith.
Of course, they were deliberating whether to recommend the death penalty to the judge who would ultimately hand down the verdict. But again, as the station said, they have not been able to reach a unanimous decision based on the mitigating factors presented in the sentencing phase, and therefore have come back with not the death sentence recommendation, but to life in prison without parole.
We'll continue to follow what happens next in this case. We will go back live to Luann Stoya, who is inside the courtroom. Stay with us here on ABC6.
Now, looking for some reaction soon. Well, some people argue that it is difficult to trust certain media outlets in today's extreme political climate.
And now there's one group trying to make sure media sources you can trust are being treated fairly. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman shows us the fights playing out in the courts and on your screen.
We are fighting the fake news. You're CNN, you're fake news. You are fake news.
It's been the president's go-to retaliation for unflattering coverage, and Democrats, too, have at times denounced the media.
And then I wonder why the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, doesn't write particularly good articles about it.
Amid the criticism, new research shows the freedom of the press is under attack, and reporters increasingly seeing access to public records either denied or significantly delayed.
The climate is very rough for journalism today.
Bruce Brown is the executive director of the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, providing free legal help for journalists who believe they're being stonewalled.
We're busier than ever, right? Because reporters don't have the kind of access to legal support that they used to.
Their workload has skyrocketed from less than 10 active litigation cases a year to more than 40, just as overall faith in the media has edged lower.
So the concern is that as public support drifts further down, the courts won't see these rights in exactly the same way.
For the first time ever, the group, which had to double its staff, is pushing an ad campaign.
Today, there are real threats to press freedom.
To show the risks.
And your right to know about the world around us.
We want people to think about actively defending it.
If, she says, the public doesn't engage,
we're concerned that people will start to see chips away at the First Amendment that really affect how news organizations can tell the stories that we as people need to hear.
In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Marshall McPeak is stepping in here right now on the cusp of one of our more, intriguing weather days.
You can feel something out there in the air.
Can you?
Yeah, it's on the way. You can. There's that weird sort of, it feels like winter moment when you're outside, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to feel more and more like that as we go through the evening tonight. And then it begins to get messy tomorrow. Let's go through the evening first. As you head out the door, if you're going to go out to dinner tonight, of course, the sun goes down earlier now than it did a week ago, but you're going to find temperatures in the 40s to begin with and mostly clear sky. I mean, it's actually really nice outside right now for this time of the year. We're going to continue to see mild temperatures for the beginning, but watch what happens on Futurecast. By later on this evening, here's 11 o'clock, here comes that rain. And this will be rain. We're warm enough for that at this point. And during the overnight hours, still liquid. First thing in the morning, 6 a.m., just getting going with the morning commute. It's wet, but it's not snow yet, except in Bucyrus. Bucyrus and Upper still looking at a little bit of snow, changing over at that point. But in Columbus, it'll still be rain. Grab your galoshes and plan on a wet morning commute tomorrow. 38 degrees when you're out the door first thing in the morning. So we turn cloudy this evening, the rain and the showers move in, and then we start to get wet. So here's how it looks tomorrow, and follow along. Here we go. This is 6 a.m. where it's still 38 degrees. We pop up to about 40, and then the front comes through. So by midday, this is starting to change over. You're going to find some rain-snow mix and snow embedded in this first, and then the temperatures fall even more in the afternoon, and it turns into snow showers. So 3 in the afternoon, snow showers across a lot of the area. Some of that beginning to accumulate. Now, the ground is still fairly warm, so some of it melts initially, which will limit our eventual accumulations, but you're still going to find at least some sticking to the grass, and then once things cool off even more, it'll start sticking to some of the roads and sidewalks. By 8 o'clock in the evening, it's all over. It's finished, and we start to get some clearing, even out into eastern Ohio, where that snow begins to come to an end. So that's when the cold air starts to really dive into Ohio. We'll be in the upper 20s by 11 o'clock Thursday evening, and it'll fall into the mid-20s during the overnight hours. Watch how these temperatures fall tomorrow. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning. You're still in the 40s, down into the mid-30s for the middle of the day, and that's when you get that changeover back and forth between rain, snow mix, and snow. And then in the evening, we're back below freezing. It's going to get very chilly by Friday morning. So my concern Friday morning is that what's wet begins to freeze, and that's that's where you may get some slick spots Friday morning. Generally, north of Columbus, I think you're looking at an inch or two, and then up to an inch across the metro area. Some of the models making it much less than that north of Columbus. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this even tonight to see if we get some new numbers that come in from the models on these. But for now, we'll go with about an inch or so across a lot of the area and things getting sloppy during the day. Your morning commute is still just rainy. It's going to be cold and breezy, 41 degrees. By the time you get to the afternoon rush, a lot of the snow will already have come and gone, but you'll have some slick spots and we'll be down to about 35 degrees at that point. Your daytime high 42, and that's going to happen early. So some rain changing to snow, getting up to an inch or so, breezy and cold. Then Friday's a nice day. Friday 38, cold, but at least we get some sunshine. We'll see some of the snow that's on the ground melt off during the day. But at night, we're back down to 24 degrees. It is going to be a very chilly day for the Buckeyes on Saturday. 42 in the afternoon. And then we're going to do some rain changing to snow again on Sunday.
All right, thank you, Marshall. A tragic update to the officer shot in Dayton, how he's giving back to his community one final time.
And Election Day might be over, but a major race in Kentucky isn't. What's next with only a few thousand votes separating the candidates? And it's not a recount.
And coming up at 6, rental homes turning into party houses and bringing the police. It might have happened on your street. Airbnb is sick and tired of it happening. We'll tell you how they're trying to be the ultimate party pooper at 6.
New York City, but not really noteworthy. But this one's missing a few things.
That's right. Some of the biggest: no tables, no cashiers, and no line. This is the first mobile pickup only store in the United States. It's located near Penn Station. Like many other Starbucks stores, you can place a mobile order on the app, walk inside, and pick up your drink. But that's all you can do here. It's only 400 square feet in size, about the size of a 2-car garage. Starbucks already has a second pickup only store planned near Grand Central Station.
New at 5:30, say it ain't snow. All the white stuff is in the forecast, as you just heard, for tomorrow and for the first time this season. How the Snow Warriors are making sure they're ready for the start of winter.
And the so-called Christmas creep setting in earlier and earlier every year. Just how soon you'll want to start shopping to get the best deals.
Also, CBD oil being hailed as a cure for tons of ailments. The problem is, you could fail a drug test if you're on it. How that happened to 2 women just before 6.
News at 5 starts with this breaking news alert.
An update now to the breaking news we've been following this afternoon as you see a Honda Element involved in a fatal crash on the south side being loaded onto the wrecker now. They're finally getting this scene cleared up here. This is at 104 Jackson Pike, near there anyway, State Route 104. Live look, the dump truck and SUV, there's the dump truck collided head on, killing a woman who was in that Honda. And we'll have another update on this coming up on ABC 6 News at 6, but it looks as though they're getting this scene cleared up after about 4 hours now.
And more breaking news now, this time out of Pike County. BCI agents are at the farm of Frederica Wagner. She's the matriarch of the family accused of the massacre of the Roden family back in 2016. Now, they've been out there for the past few days, but we just learned about this latest development. We don't know what they're trying to find. We do expect to get an update in the next day or so.
And also breaking, the AP reporting that former Attorney General Jeff Sessions will announce a 2020 Senate run in his home state of Alabama. As we look live at the U.S. Capitol, Sessions was the senator for Alabama there for 20 years before being appointed for Attorney General in 2017. But he resigned from that position a year ago tomorrow.
A tragic update to pass along tonight. The Dayton police officer shot on Monday night will not survive his injuries. The department shared an update on Twitter. It says Detective Del Rio remains on advanced life support after suffering injuries that are tragically not survivable. Not surprisingly, after 30 years of dedicated public service, Detective Del Rio will continue to give of himself by being an organ donor upon his death.
A Franklin County woman convicted of abusing her 5-month-old child will spend the next 4 years in prison. Mariah Lee admitted to hitting her child up to 20 times since giving birth. The baby had injuries including a fractured skull, bleeding in her brain, and a damaged liver. Lee blames the abuse on postpartum depression.
Also new tonight, the woman accused of shooting her parents and killing one in Upper Arlington has been indicted by a grand jury. Kristen Roth now faces charges of aggravated murder and attempted murder. She's accused of killing her father and shooting her mother. Happened on Halloween. Roth is 31. She faces 5 charges in total. Roth is set to be arraigned on Friday.
We are expecting a bit of a wintry mess over the next couple of days, and so we are going to try to track this out and make sure that we're prepared for it. Now, this evening, it's dry now, but this starts to turn into some rain by the time we get to bedtime tonight. First thing in the morning, before the morning commute, you're still looking at rain. The temperatures are warm at that point, but as we go through the morning commute into the middle of the day, this begins to transition over from rain into some rain-snow mix and snow showers during the afternoon. There's the snow, and that's what begins to accumulate later on in the afternoon. Doesn't look like a lot, but it's enough that we're going to have to remember how to try to drive in all of this. People tend to forget. Temperatures will be falling during the day. Early in the morning, you're at 41 degrees, then falling into the 30s by the middle of the day, and then hovering there for a little while. It'll drop into the 20s during the overnight hours. So how much? Well, not a lot, but enough that you're going to notice that it becomes a little slippery in some places. I think northern Ohio ends up with ½ inch to an inch. Some places getting pockets of up to 2 inches. Along the I-70 corridor, you're looking at up to an inch or so. And then a few areas are going to get just a hint more than that. So we'll see some of this on and off during the afternoon tomorrow. Now, as we get ready for our first measurable snow of the season, drivers are going to have to try to remember how to drive in all of this. First warning forecaster Caroline Cohen is looking into how Franklin County is getting ready. Caroline, what are they doing?
Well, if anyone knows just how fast that forecast can change, it's our very own Marshall McPeak. So imagine for these crews, if they have to be attentive to that, they're constantly monitoring everything. It's not just the amount of salt, it's not just the amount of solution, but it's also keeping an eye on that forecast and making sure everything's ready when they need it to go.
I think it's horrible. I think it's way too early. We shouldn't have the first snow until after Thanksgiving.
While Thursday's event isn't calling for a whiteout, the Franklin County Engineers Office says they've been ready to go since summer.
Currently, right now, what we've been working on since July. We work on a lot of our snow and ice equipment, prepping our snow plows, our salt spreaders, our auger boxes, and our wetting system.
The office maintains rural roads throughout the county. Each plow and driver is assigned a route for their entire shift. With the help of a truck tracking system, they're able to see each driver's progress and areas that may be hit harder than others.
Make the phone calls, and each one of our outposts would call our drivers. So because if it's in the afternoon, we would go with a full call out, and all drivers report to our 2 outpost locations.
Trucks go out with anywhere from 8 to 12 tons of salt, and they run on a 24-hour cycle.
They'll work till midnight, and then if the snow is still really bad, then the AM shift would come in at midnight and work till noon, and we would just work 12 hours till we got the roads cleaned.
So while some say it's still too early, others...
I build snowmans and I make snow angels.
...are planning to embrace winter's arrival. Well, now as we've heard, it's going to go from rain to snow, and crews tell me that's going to be the hardest part, because when that rain's coming down, you can't pre-treat the roads. It'll just wash it right off. But as you saw there in that story, they are ready to go. They're going to begin salting as soon as we make that transition over to snow at North Bank Park. Caroline Cohen, ABC 6 News.
All right, Caroline, thanks so much. The twilight there is so much darker now at 5:36. And before the snow comes, kids in Utica will be getting their Halloween candy. Trick or treat there starting in about 25 minutes. That'll run from 6 to 7:30. All moved, of course, because of the weather concerns last week.
Now, whether you're going trick or treating tonight or heading to the Buckeye game on Saturday, make sure the Ohio weather app is on your phone. That hourly forecast will let you know which jacket to grab before heading out the door. It's free for you. Just search for Ohio WX to download.
The Columbus Zoo saying thanks to men and women who serve and their families with free admission on Monday.
They also want visitors to come back again later this year. Here's what's happening. On Veterans Day, military personnel past and present, along with their immediate families, can go to the zoo for free. This is video from last year. Anyone who visits the zoo on Monday will also receive a free ticket when they leave, and that can be used anytime between November 15th and January 5th to enjoy wild lights. Well, the zoo is one of many places thanking members of our military, veterans, and their families this weekend. We have a list on the free ABC6 app. Just search for Veterans Day. Again, if you need that app, just search WSYX.
And we're saluting our veterans this year, and every single day. Make sure you tune in for our Saluting Our Veterans special. We'll come to you from the Mott's Military Museum in Groveport, showcasing the powerful ways that we're celebrating and supporting our fighting men and women. Saluting Our Veterans, Monday, Veterans Day, 7 o'clock, right here on ABC6.
These retailers are all in competition, so they are all clamoring to get business, whether it is online or in store.
And that means better deals for you, why you might want to start your holiday shopping now.
And 2 women say they lost their job prospects because they were taking CBD oil. What happened during their background checks that shocked them?
And lawyers are in the ABC6 On Your Side Help Center tonight offering free legal advice. All you have to do is call the number on your screen, 614-481-6848. They're taking your questions until 6:30.
Countdown to Kickoff is brought to you by G&J Pepsi.
Campaign trail because 2019 election season is not over. People in the Bayou will be voting for governor in 10 days.
Now, most of the elections are settled across the country, but there is a governor's race that's not done. Kentucky Republican Governor Matt Bevin is not conceding. He's asking for a recanvass of votes in his state. The county election organizers will go through the ballots to see if the numbers match Tuesday's results. It's not a recount, which would have to go through the court system. In the meantime, Bevin's Democratic challenger is declaring victory.
I want to say thank you to our union families that helped make this election happen.
Andy Beshear up by a few thousand votes tonight. The difference between the two candidates is actually less than 0.5%. And most news organizations still consider the race too close to call, even with all of the precincts now reporting.
If you haven't bought your holiday gifts yet, the best deals might already be gone. Why your last best chance for Christmas shopping could be this week.
I stopped taking it.
Have the migraines come back?
Yes.
And that's the difficult choice that this woman says she's had to make because CBD oil cost her a job. What happened that's forcing her to sacrifice her health?
Good news and bad news for Dublin-based Wendy's. The bad news, third quarter revenue is down nearly $350 million from the same time last year. Wendy's says that's because it sold off Inspire Brands, the company that owns Arby's, B-Dubs, Sonic, and Jimmy John's. Still, they beat expectations, causing stocks to rise 3% this morning, but settling back down at the close.
All right, so Halloween is behind us. Time to start focusing on maybe the holiday spending, and if you're doing that right now, you may already be too late, or at least late. Yeah.
Some experts say people started buying gifts as early as Prime Day in the summer and are slowing down now before the holiday rush. Again, we have consumer investigator Jesse Pagan joining us now with how stores are capitalizing on this early shopping season and also how we can still come out on top.
Right, so some research analyst firms actually say that people were kind of slowing down their spending in these months, kind of preempting the holiday months, probably holding off for that big Black Friday sale or whatever may be coming, but retailers are catching on, and they're saying that the market is really just kind of confirming to that and catching on, so they are actually bringing in sales earlier than you would expect to get you to go buy in, and you could save big.
Now I'm shopping for myself and my kids.
Steve Beer is scouring the shelves inside Big Fun in the Short North for the perfect vintage toys for his boys.
Well, all the Marvel action figures. My boys are really big into those right now. Yeah. And I love coming in here and just spending a little bit of time.
With Halloween gone, now's the time a lot of us start chipping away at that holiday wish list.
I like to get it out of the way so I'm not all stressed out at the end of it.
What if I told you that you're already starting late?
That's crazy.
The Christmas creep is real. So, in fact, according to our Retail Me Not research, we know that over 30% of people actually purchased a gift during Amazon Prime Day, which is in July.
That's part of the reason why some retail analysts say we are slowing our buying down now before ramping up for the holidays. Financial firm Grant Thornton's research showed a 0.3% dip in retail sales in September when it would have normally been higher.
Not surprised to hear that September sales were a little bit lower because people are parceling out their money a lot longer. They started shopping in July.
That parceling is part of what's prompting a new shopping holiday. Retail Me Not and several retail companies like Amazon, Home Depot, Macy's, and more are partnering for Cash Back Day this week. Skirble says on November 7th, when shopping through their platform, you'll get cash back for everything you buy.
These retailers are all in competition, so they are all clamoring to get business.
Experts say retailers are conforming to the market, and it's in their best interest to offer incentives for you to buy at their store, even if it's months ahead of schedule.
The advice from experts here is to stretch your budget and start as soon as possible if you haven't already. Also, take advantage of every single deal you can find that works for you. Keep an eye on free shipping, BOGO deals, coupons for discounts. Everything that you can find is yours for the taking.
Thank you, Jesse. You're already finished, aren't you, Station?
I shop all year long.
I know you do.
The shopping is never done.
Yeah, you're done. No, but you're Christmas shopping
No, it's never done.
Yeah.
No, I just shop all the time.
All the time. We had a good time today at Lunchbox Weather. We were in Reynoldsburg today. This is Summit Road STEM Elementary School. Great second grade questions today. Lots of fantastic interaction. The kids were fantastic.
Looks like they had a lot of energy in that crowd.
Nice room.
Thanks for hosting us today. It was awesome. And they were very excited to know there's some snow on the way.
Oh, I bet they were.
They were not as excited to know that it's probably not enough for a snow day.
No.
I think the teachers were more disappointed in that.
Right. Those are coming, you know they are.
It'll happen. It's just not this one.
Okay.
This one, we were talking on the radio a little while ago with our friends at 610 WTVN. They were like, it's Snowmageddon. I'm like, it's not that bad.
Good.
This is not that snow.
Yeah, let's save that term.
Let's save
the
that
season
one.
has just begun.
We do have some snow on the way, though. There is plenty of rain starting to move into the Cincinnati area now. If you're going to head down that direction this evening, as you go down 71, you'll notice that things begin to get wet by the time you get to around Mason or so, and then Cincinnati itself is going to stay wet for a while. Down 23, this is mostly just some sprinkles happening now, but you'll find a little of that down towards about Pike County and on towards Scioto County. But this is just the beginning. First we get this rain, then this is part of the colder air that slides in here behind it, so we end up with that changing into some snow. The evening in Columbus looks pretty good. Temperatures in the 40s. We'll see a mix of clouds and clear sky. And then overnight we'll drop to 38. The rain moves in by about bedtime tonight, and then it's with us into the morning tomorrow. So here's Futurecast. You notice that rain, there it is, by 11 o'clock tonight, overspreading the area and staying with us through 6 a.m. So a lot of folks getting on the road first thing in the morning for the commute, and it'll be wet. So if you have an early bus time, you're going to find you're going to need rain gear to begin with. But take the heavy winter coat with you as well, because by midday, we see this beginning to make a changeover. And as it does, that's going to start to accumulate a little bit. A lot of central Ohio is going to get about an inch or so as we go through the afternoon, but by the afternoon commute, it begins to taper off. So by about 6, 7 o'clock, we're in cleanup mode at that point. Some of this is going to stick to the grass. It's going to melt when it hits the roads, at least in the beginning, but you're likely to still find a few slick spots, especially the more we get during the afternoon and evening. By Friday morning, we're down into the mid-20s, and by then, with temperatures that cold, whatever's wet is going to start to refreeze. So if you have a little bit of wetness on the roads, that turns into some black ice and it becomes slippery on the way in Friday morning. Might find a little of that on the sidewalks as well, so bear that in mind while you're out and about. Friday, though, turns into a beautiful day with some sunshine, but very chilly. Tomorrow begins with those temperatures in the 40s, then falling during the day, and we'll see that rain changing over into some rain-snow mix, then some snow showers, and we'll end up with about an inch or so on the ground. Off to school in the morning, light rain, 40 degrees. But on the way home, there you go, the snow showers with temperatures in the mid-30s. Generally speaking, north of Columbus, about an inch or two. Across the metro area, you're going to find up to an inch, and it'll take most of the afternoon for that to happen. And then we'll try to get rid of that on Friday as we warm up a little bit. Friday, we get to 38 degrees, which should be enough to melt off what's there. Saturday looks pretty good at the shoe. Early morning, if you're planning on tailgating, it's going to be chilly out there with temps beginning in the 20s. We'll get to around 37 by kickoff, and by the end of the game, you're up to 42 degrees. That gets us to Sunday. Sunday is very similar to tomorrow. We end up with rain changing into rain, snow mix, and snow showers. Could get a little accumulation out of that, and we'll be in the 30s Monday and Tuesday.
Thank you, Marshall. Coming up at 6, he was killed in war nearly 70 years ago. His family had no closure for decades. Now a fallen hero is home at last.
Plus, rental homes turning into wrecks. Find out how Airbnb is looking to crash the party.
And crooks break in and they go to a new low. The little people who lost their life savings, all new at 6. CBD oil. Many people who take it swear by it.
Yeah, they say it helps them with everything from sleeping to anxiety to headaches. But a couple of different women say that CBD oil cost them their jobs.
So they reached out to Matt Gebhardt to investigate.
I wonder if it shows up in drug tests.
The Get Gebhardt crew went undercover to one of the many CBD oil shops that have sprung up along the Wasatch Front.
Do you make it here? We make it right here. Oh.
There is no indication anything going on here is illegal. Both the legislature and the federal government have declared CBD oil is legal as long as it contains less than 0.3% THC.
That's not cheap.
We paid $223 for this bottle, the most potent that the shop sells, and sent it off to a lab to test for ourselves. Sure enough, it passed THC levels within the legal limit. Legal, but for one customer,
devastated. Sorry. I've been looking for a job since May.
Mandy was in the final stages of a job interview. It was abruptly yanked away after a drug test showed she had THC in her system. Mandy says she's never taken marijuana, and her doctor recommended she try CBD to try and fight migraines.
I didn't have any migraines, and so I'm like, this stuff is great.
That's right, Mandy finally found a cure, but it's a cure that now has her suffering financially.
Is it worth it?
I stopped taking it.
Have the migraines come back?
Yes.
Even though compliant CBD products only have trace amounts of THC, scientists have found that those trace amounts can store in a person's fat cells, and the THC can accumulate over time, which can lead to positive test results. Alyssa agrees. She had been taking a different CBD oil as a sleeping aid.
Did it help?
Yeah.
Then, last month, she broke her foot after slipping at Corner Canyon High School, where she'd worked for 5 years. The school district made her take a drug test.
Did you have any concerns about
No.
that? You've been taking CBD. You weren't worried that you might test positive
No.
for THC?
No.
She should have been. She failed and was fired.
And even still going back to that moment, I'm still stunned. And I've never done what they think that you're accusing you of doing.
As for Mandy and Alyssa, they are job hunting tonight and no longer taking that perfectly legal product that they say improved their health but cost them their livelihoods.